I am not quite sure if it is because or despite Louise is introduced as this mentally unsteady person that I like her that much. Obviously she was there to fill the gap Fomander left when she died in season 2. Because we see Louise in sexy tight outfits and bathing suits and bikini just like Fomander was introduced in season 1. And Elena Satine brings a lot of eye candy. The red hair and her classic hourglass figure always makes me think of Marilyn Monroe, who is one of my favorite actresses. Anyway, through her storylines were always a bit over the top, like her performance, I grew fond of her. Louise has a great backstory full of drama, and Elena Satine plays with just enough wit and vulnerability to care for this crazy woman. Let us dive right into her complicated backstory. Because when we first met her, it seems as if Louise is someone who can be dangerous to others and herself because of her mental issues.
If you're worried that I might cut you in your sleep, I'm not crazy. Spun out a bit after my daddy died last year. My mom's been trying to convince me I'm still screwed up.
I will lose it in here, which I'm sure is exactly what my mother wants.
Some of you will roll their eyes because we had that with Tyler. But I think they gave it a nice twist. Because like Victoria, who was institutionalized by Emily against her will, it is Louise's family, namely her mother, who want to keep her in check by threatening her with the prospect of having to spend the rest of her life in psychiatric clinics like Claremont.
You are not well, Louise. You haven't been ever since your daddy died.
Her obsession with Victoria and her son Daniel seem to support her first impression as a very disturbed woman with violent tendencies. Especially when you think about her actions against Margot. But soon we get to know that her family is drugging her to make her forget the darkest family secret. And again they give us a red herring by making us believe Louise killed her father accidentally.
What did you do? What did you do?
While in fact it is again a mirror of Amanda's backstory. That the young girl lost her father due to a vile woman. This time it was her own mother who had an affair and tried to secure her pleasant life by killing her husband before he could leave her. I must admit I love those mirroring storylines, and Louise's backstory is full of cliches but nice. Though it seems like with Fomander the writers are not sure where to go with Louise. In one episode she acts and talks crazy as ever, and in the next she is a real help for Emily and Nolan. Which brings us to her most prominent character trait, loyalty, and a good portion of madness.
Louise, you are one of the most loyal people that I know, and that is the quality that I truly adore in you.
Truly I love the mix of character traits they gave Louise. She is most loyal to Nolan because he helped her and was the only one in the Hamptons who welcomed her open arms. And I am sure if Victoria and Margot would not have manipulated her to hate Emily, she would have been loyal to Emily, too. Her crazy actions and trying to seduce Daniel for the sake of getting close to Victoria again was fun to watch. Elena Satine managed to show us Louise's dark side without compromising her vulnerability.
It wasn't a trick.
You wrote me a note on Lou Marshall's stationery, you lunatic.
How dare you judge me? You don't know me or what I've been through.
So I just spoke to Margot. She said she got locked in the steam room.
Yes, I heard there was an incident. Poor dear. You don't believe I had something to do with this, Danny? How could you think I'd be capable of such an atrocity? And why on earth would I want to harm your girlfriend?
Oh, we did sleep together.
I nearly forgot. No offense, you were much better than I imagined. Pretty boys, they don't generally try very hard. Men, always thinking it's about them.
So we always cared for her and never saw her as bad as truly bad character like the Graysons. Even though they got far with her almost trying to kill Margot just because she feels threatened by her and inferior. I love how they captured her self-loathing and insecure character.
Now look at you. Darling, I have always said you do not have the face to pull off an updo. But that Margot, she's smart, sophisticated, accomplished. Everything you're not.
At the beginning Louise is a very disturbed and troubled character just like teenage Amanda.
Because I believe she's a good person who's had a hard life. Does that sound familiar?
So I get what Nolan sees in her. Must have been a real déjà vu for him.
No. Can I just have a normal friend?
So no wonder he is attracted to her. And even though they never play this out really, due to Disney again, I guess, he seems sexually attracted to her as well if you think about what he told Jack.
This is still a fake marriage, right? Are you attracted to her?
Jack, have you seen her? Everyone from Southampton to South Pole.
Yes, but that doesn't mean that they should be married to her.
Besides all that madness, Louise has some very positive character traits. She is determined, no doubt, cause despite the state she is in due to her medical issues and the drugs she is taking, she follows a straight agenda just like Emily and Margot. So she is smart as well. And talking with Nolan about his media problems after David humiliated him on live television. She gives him some nice advice and at least cheers him up a little bit.
So what's it like, being a Southern Kennedy?
Oh, no, don't tell me you bought into that hogwash.
People will believe whatever they read, which is why I always go with my gut.
But unlike Margot and Emily, she is very sweet and soft, which makes her so relatable and sympathetic. We have compassion for her through she did all this crazy stuff because she is just so very kind. I guess like Fomander in season 2, they designed Louise to be the perfect victim. Yet I am happy that they did not kill her off but redeemed her as Emily's last ally and helped to get to Victoria.
We still have to find Victoria. We don't know where she's hiding. I do. I never wanted to hurt you, but you did. And there's someone else you hurt much more. Hello, Victoria.
So let's move on to her relationships. At first watch I did not recognize it, but Louise has become a vital part of the show. She has connections to all of the main cast, and even though she has not that much scenes with Emily, she has more points of contact with our leading lady than Margot, let alone through her relationship with Emily's best friend Nolan. But let's start with Victoria, cause she is the first who gets to know Louise, and she truly has the most and worst influence on her.
Well, perhaps here comes another.
You need to come with me, man.
She has quite an elegance.
Poor Poppet.
Maybe we should let them.
She is even using her belongings to get out of Claremont, and even does not try to take Louise with her.
Wait for me!
I'm sorry, Poppet.
And when they both are finally back, Victoria wants nothing to do with her unless Louise is helpful in her vendetta against Emily as Nolan's former wife. I admit they could have been more straightforward with this storyline, cause they gave us this great manipulation scene in the very first episode and then only came back to it when they needed a new ally for Victoria's and Margot's vendetta against Emily. I love and hate this scene because it shows how far Victoria is willing to go to get what she wants and how fast she can use a situation to her advantage. For Louise, it underlines her bad understanding of the human character and that she always chooses the wrong people to trust and invest her feelings in, starting with her family who has been lying to her and constantly tried to keep her down and small. I think this introduction at her lowest point was really smart, cause immediately we get to care for her and see her as this innocent victim of Victoria's manipulation. But that changes quickly when Louise tries to get matters into her own hand and meets Daniel, the only son of Victoria.
Tell me, how much do you hate it when people ask you for free advice?
Depends who's asking.
As I said, I like these mirroring storylines and was really excited about the allusions both Daniel and Victoria made to Emily's first days in the Hamptons.
What are you doing with Louise Ellis? This girl is mentally imbalanced.
So she's a friend of yours?
And now that she's hired you, I'm highly suspect of her intentions.
I can handle her.
You once said the exact same thing about Emily Thorne.
What are you doing?
Didn't know I played tennis, did you?
Hundreds of members at this club, and you just happen to buddy up with my girlfriend. It's quite a coincidence, wouldn't you say?
A completely innocent one.
Look, I'm sorry if I seem a little paranoid. It just wouldn't be the first time I've been targeted by someone with a hidden agenda.
When she pursued Daniel as a target to get close to Victoria. Not at all for the same reasons. Louise is trying the same by seducing Daniel and even trying to get pregnant. I know many viewers rolled their eyes because it was that insane, but remember she was totally under the influence of those drugs.
What's Larium?
Anti-malarial drug?
I've seen more than one person suffer from the side effects, which looked a lot like what we saw tonight. Paranoid delusions that lead to aggression. Are you saying?
Family's been drugging you.
I am so grateful to you. You saved my life and my sanity.
So no wonder she could think clearly. By the way, a great way to undo all the things she has done. Because in this little side plot they comprised her a lot.
Ever since then, Lou suffered from depression, from panic attacks, from delusions. It's all completely manageable, but only under constant supervision. Okay, she's having one of her delusions. I need to get her home.
Louise.
I am not a waste. I am not a waste. Daddy loved me and he understood me, but you are the devil, and so is Lyman.
Louise.
Nolan, I'm so sorry.
It's all right, you're fine.
Especially regarding her little war with Margot. It had something of a catfight, which I do not necessarily like, but it was great to see the determination and smart moves on both sides.
I'm on to your little game, Louise. The lengths you've gone to be with Daniel.
Seem to have succeeded, considering how quickly you just stormed out of his building.
Except for one little problem. You made an enemy out of me in the process.
I think Louise's rivalry with Margot never stopped, and Victoria used it to her advantage by the end of the season. Cause Louise still feels intimidated by this gorgeous and successful businesswoman who clearly earned the status of being Victoria's family. Something Louise always strived to achieve. I mean, in her charade when everyone besides Margot should have believed Victoria is dead, she took not the time to write a goodbye letter or even a note to Louise. She just left a letter for Margot. Yet she saw some kind of a surrogate mother in Victoria.
Mama.
Could have been interesting if they had more time to explore this relationship, cause after losing Charlotte, Victoria seems in need for a new surrogate for her as well. Her switching between both or with Patrick, 3 of her children, did not work anymore. Patrick has gone and both of the Grayson children despise her after they know the truth about the Graysons' deeds and Emily's true identity. Maybe their relationship would have been more organic and both could have satisfied each other's needs.
Louise, you are a treasure part of my family.
Nothing but a pawn to you.
Oh, Poppet, I love you. I never wanted to hurt you.
Now to Daniel. Other than Emily, it seems as if Louise does not really care about the Grayson boy.
Wouldn't be the first time I've been targeted by someone with a hidden agenda.
Stop being such a worrywart, sugar. This has nothing to do with you.
Though he really looks gorgeous again in this last season. And I have to confess that he and Aiden, maybe because they are 2 Brits, look far better and attractive to me than Jack. I know they try to make us see him as this sexy cop, but I just do not get these sexy vibes with him. And that scene with his mother in LA in which he shows off his muscles. I am not a fan of those men either. So Daniel in the shower with Louise was a real nice eye candy. Yet besides this no doubt very physical attraction. I mean, look at Louise's body and her fashion choices. She looks like a caricature of Barbie in some of these scenes.
Too much? Or hot damn?
Definitely hot damn.
Only that she is not blonde. By the way, this red hair color really suits her and adds something to her dangerous and mysterious character. I think Daniel is just fascinated by her, just like he fell for Emily at the beginning of season 1. He really should have known better by now. But besides this one night stand, we clearly see that Daniel gives not a damn about Louise. Again, he shows his real face when he gets to know about her mental issues. I like how she is standing up for herself and holds up a mirror to Daniel.
And I'm gonna make damn sure that you're sent back to the institution you crawled out of.
How dare you judge me? I never did that to you, not once. I am the only person in Manhattan that even gave you the time of day. I've been nothing but good to you. You have no idea how good you have it. You're just a stubborn, self-involved bastard who won't even visit his sick mother in the hospital.
Cause he is really a spoiled and egoistic boy, so I guess both are even cause they both used each other for their own goals. Daniel wanted back into business and just saw Louise's big money and the connection to her brother in politics. And Louise wanted to use Daniel to get back on Victoria's radar. Anyway, her obsession with Victoria is luckily banned in the background until the writers need it again, cause she gets to know Nolan. And this is really my favorite relationship. I know it is all fake and he just wants to help her like he helped Emily. But I think there must have been a moment off screen when this became more than a Samaritan mission for Nolan. By the end of the season, he truly cares for her and he even considers adopting a baby with her. I mean, they throw this out to show us how crazy Louise is that she thinks they could have a normal relationship and marriage, but he actually thinks about it.
First, I really need one of our Wonder Twin nights. It's so much better than 3 Xanax and a glass of rosé.
Well, that is high praise. What else?
I want a baby.
We could adopt one.
Well, we say we're like family, so why don't we just be one? We can raise a great kid in an open, honest marriage and make up for the mistakes our parents made with us.
The only thing that stands in the way is the obvious. Her unsteady character.
I want a family and a real marriage one day, but with somebody stable.
But let's go back to the beginning because I just love the dynamic of the two. And for a change, it has got how quick this relationship evolves.
Now, are you sure you're not from the South? 'Cause you take care of your friends like family.
My friends, I'm a family.
Oh, you are a bad influence, boy.
Me?
I did self-medicate with my share of hot, nutty boys.
Your words, my life.
For me, they also build up great conflicts here. Cause Nolan is from the beginning in an inner conflict with Louise. First, because he gets to know very quick what her primal issues are, her obsession with Victoria and her very special family problem. And when he goes in business with Margot, he has to deceive Louise for the first of many times.
To liars. Now, why did Le Marchand Media call my brother asking about my father?
I have no idea.
Where I'm from, you claim the deer you shot. Now, I know you've been working with Margot and digging up dirt on me.
Look, Le Marchand is helping me to save my reputation.
For the price of mine? It has taken me years of therapy to stop having nightmares about my past. You protect your friends like family? Well, now I know where I stand.
So in fact, they have a really normal and straight relationship, and even their marriage is a total cliches cause he cheats on her.
I mean, do you even know what it means to be in a marriage, in a partnership?
Yes, I do. It means we both bring our baggage and our eccentricities into this union, and it is our job to respect each other's quirks. You keep losing your wedding ring, and I find it all over the house, and I return it back to you without once asking you why you keep taking it off because I respect you enough not to ask. So why can't you give me the same respect?
Okay, we have the gay subplot again cause Tony is no woman. But besides that and her crazy problems, this must have been the most normal relationship for Nolan. They even talk about a future with kids. Fair to say that only Louise sees that as a real option, but Nolan could have been persuaded, I think. If she could have convinced him that she is stable enough to raise a child. Anyway, I like that he sees not only the similarities between Emily's and Louise's character, but also the problems and issues he had are the same as Louise's. They are both outsiders and sometimes too smart and quirky for the people around them. I think that is the true reason why they are such a good team.
I am so sorry I didn't see it sooner.
See what?
How much we're alike. I mean, I spent most of my life as an outsider. It felt awful. So while our wedding was strategic, I did promise to be there for you.
Besides the romantic and sexual components of a marriage, their mutual affection and concern about each other are true and just like in any other real relationship. I mean, he does marry her to protect her in the first place and to be able to take care of her.
I got your message. What are we celebrating?
The end of your control over Louise. My legal team found a loophole in your conservatorship. Seems you only remain in charge of your daughter until she finds a husband.
Guess who just got married?
That makes me your conservator now, which means Louise is finally free of you.
The only problem I see here is that this unequal relationship makes Louise always inferior and needy towards Nolan. So the break and frictions with their divorce might have been necessary to start new. I for my part love to believe that they reconsider their relationship after Jack's and Amanda's wedding. In a perfect season 5 they surely would be a pair again. Maybe with some adopted kids. Emily and Louise could have started a charity given the past of Amanda as a victim of the childcare system. Speaking of Emily aka Amanda, I still regret that we have not that many scenes with the two women. And I must admit I loved the story arc with Louise's brother and the episode in which Emily saves her from Claremont. This could have been an ongoing theme of revenge as well, the bad influence of brothers.
From your lips. Excuse me.
I am so glad you give a damn. Because after 20 minutes of schmoozing, I still can't tell if he deserves the Brother of the Year award or the Red Sharpie.
It's hard for me to hold my tongue. This subject's so near to my heart, considering my sister's own battle.
It's enough.
It's nothing to be ashamed of, Louise. But it always breaks my heart to see it like that.
Does it? Louise didn't want me to say anything. I clearly have done quite a number on that girl, but couldn't let you slink out of town thinking you'd won. How could you do it? Poisoning your own sister for God knows how long.
We have Daniel, who clearly is not that close to Charlotte for most of the seasons. Only season 3 is an exception, but not in a good way. 'Cause he constantly tries to use and manipulate her like Emily does.
Look, I get why you're mad.
You used me to turn Margot against Jack.
I just try to get you both to see the light about that guy. I'm sorry for the way I did it.
Then we have Emily's foster brother who tries to make it right, but only makes it worse for her and has to leave in the end.
You're not worried that I'm gonna mess things up, are you? I mean, you do remember who you're talking to, right? You act like you don't remember what that bitch did to us.
I remember just fine.
If you count Patrick as Charlotte's brother-in, he is a reason for trouble as well and needs to be protected by his younger sister. So in every season we have a siblings rivalry and conflict. In season 4 it is Louise's brother, which brings us to her family ties. But first back to her and Emily. Since we have not that much scenes where they are actual together, we can only assume how they stand to each other by their conversations with Nolan. They had no doubt a rough start, cause Emily is trying to protect Nolan. Like the audience at this point, Emily thinks Louise is a danger to Nolan.
Did you know that Louise was institutionalized?
At Claremont, a place that you know full well has a history of confining sane people against their will. I actually think it's in their brochure.
How dangerous she is.
Okay, I get it. You think I'm making another self-destructive choice?
And that he makes again the wrong decision like he did with Tyler and Patrick. Both very unsteady and dangerous men, who had a short but intense romance with Nolan. But after she got to know her brother and discovered that the drugs her family gave her to keep her in check just were responsible for her crazy behavior, Emily seems to get along with the idea of Nolan and Louise being friends.
And I hope you don't judge me based on this little interaction.
No, of course not. Any friend of Nolan's.
She even hosts the wedding reception of the two.
You secretly adore her. Why else would you throw up in your home for your bestie's wedding reception?
So it's fair to say Louise has been welcomed in the inner circle. Nolan and Emily even trust her to help with Margot's vendetta.
Well, I guess it's true what they say. Marry the man, marries friends.
It is a tough call where Louise stands. It is funny that she assumes what some of the audience have dreamed of, obviously.
Emily and I...
You're sleeping together.
No.
If I look at the fan fiction stories, that Nolan and Emily have a secret affair. For me this is a no-go cause. They are just too close as brother and sister in my head. For me this would have been incest. So I guess Emily is some kind of a friendlier and less intimidating version of Margot for Louise. She obviously is intimidated and a bit frightened by Emily, because of her fighting skills and the mind games she can play. Maybe she is afraid that Emily could do to her far worse damage to her mind than those pills. And she might be right, cause if Emily was that ruthless as Victoria, it would be easy for her to manipulate Louise in the same way. Maybe even better, cause all she did with Daniel was just that. Anyway, Louise seems just to be connected to Emily through Nolan like she is connected to Jack. They come as some kind of friends package, and I cannot see why she should not like both of them. Only Victoria's intervention and manipulation makes Louise hate Nolan and Emily as his closest friend and ally.
Louise, I know it's difficult for you to believe, and I understand. It's painful when we take the scales from our eyes, but we all have to see.
What is all this?
Proof that your husband gave Emily Thorne everything she needed to send my fiancé to his grave.
That lying bastard. I'm gonna hang him by his unmentionables.
So in my mind in season 5 they would be a big happy family, and Louise would have been like a sister-in-law for Emily, just like Jack would be a brother-in-law for Nolan. Like Nolan suggested in a deleted scene. Louise could have bought the ruins of Grayson Manor, or maybe Emily could have granted it as a late wedding present to both. So the two pairs would have become neighbors. Most interesting again is Louise's relationship with her mother Penelope. They reassume the underlining theme about bad motherhood here. Some of the writers or even the showrunner must have had a real bad relationship with his mother. Cause we always get back to this. First with Victoria, who stands for both, the victim of a bad mother who almost destroyed her and a bad mother herself. Then obviously Kara Clarke, Amanda's mother, who could not be around to protect her daughter because of her own mental issues. In season 3 we can add Stevie Grayson to the mix, cause she abandoned Jack as a baby. Now we have Penelope Ellis, who is just a mix of Victoria and her mother Marion Harper. Just like Victoria's mother, she is trying to smother up a murder committed by herself. And again the daughter should take the blame for her mother. What makes it worse for Louise is that it is her own father who was murdered. And unlike Victoria, who knew this was her mother and hates her for it. The circumstances of this murder were so ominous that Louise actually believes she is responsible for this. So in a way Penelope is much more ruthless than Marion. Even more, as Victoria was older than Louise when it happened. Marion could tell herself that it was Victoria's fault cause she flirted with that man and left her no choice. Yet Louise was just an innocent child. By the way, regarding reason and like it is depicted, both women were innocent children who should have been protected by their mothers and not put in such a situation. But I think this goes without saying. Anyway, as a part-time villain, Penelope did a great job. Especially in contrast to Malcolm Black, who kidnapped Emily and Victoria in these episodes. You can see clearly why the women are far better and more frightening villains in Revenge. Even though Malcolm threatened to kill Emily and Victoria, and he does torture both women and David, it was Penelope who gave me more shivers. Especially since being locked up in a psychiatric cell is far worse than being in prison or killed off. Anyway, this little takedown of Emily, Nolan and Louise took me back on memory lane. Cause her takedowns in season 1 were all about justice. Just like my favorite takedown of Judge Barnes in season 2. When Emily saved Patricia from her abusive husband. So saving Louise from her abusive mother channeled some Revengender vibes, which was necessary after all that mess with Malcolm Black. Bringing her brother back to be both Margot's and Victoria's ally was a smart move. Yes, his character was a total cliché and nothing more but a functional character. But Lyman Ellis served his purpose. He posed a vital threat to Emily and Nolan and set Victoria's revenge plan in motion by giving her all the leverage she needed to take Emily down. And with his death, who mirrored the death of their father, he gave Louise a second trauma. That isolated her from Nolan cause she kept it a secret for so long. In fact, it put the first doubts into Nolan's head about her state of mind. Because all their fights before were about her brother and how she still supports him even though everything she had done to her just out of selfish reasons.
It's absolutely not. Your brother staying with us? The sea makes him as sick as his presence makes me.
Finally, he even doubts it was an accident and makes Louise vulnerable to Victoria's manipulation in the first place. Anyway, for me this was one of the best story arches for Revenge in season 4. And I really love this side plot around her ruthless family. I know it is just redundant cause it is the Graysons in a nutshell. But who cares? It really was stuff for great drama, and far better written than the stuff about David Clarke and Malcolm Black. Now to the last part with my favorite moments and turning points in Louise's crazy cruise on Revenge. Some of them I already mentioned. Like her being part in the ruse to win against Margot when she was going after Jack and Ben.
Oh my goodness! This isn't SoulCycle? Louise? Gosh darn it, I could have sworn Jack said the gym was on the 8th floor. Opposite 8th Avenue. You know, I am so terrible with directions. I'm so sorry to interrupt.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Agent Westgate here is going to need to ask you a few questions before you go.
Oh, my pleasure.
I really enjoyed all the stuff with Nolan. Like I said in his character study, my all-time favorite scene is the one right after their mission and he apologizes to Louise, realizing how much they are alike.
I am so sorry I didn't see it sooner.
See what?
How much we're alike. I mean, I spent most of my life as an outsider. It felt awful. I did promise to be there for you. I'm so sorry that I wasn't. Perdóname.
Yes.
Not to mention that he looks so great and sexy in this scene. I never noticed that before season 4. Maybe because they always depicted him as gay and the only season in which he had a girlfriend was that really bad season 2. In which he was dressed up as a mix of Candyman and Silicon Valley CO. Anyway, Gabriel Mann and Elena Satine had a great chemistry and I wish they had gone full in for a romantic relationship. A sex scene between them could have been hot as hell. And of course they are the most fashionable couple in Revenge. Besides some dubious choices, I loved all of Louise's outfits. Sure, they were over the top just like Nolan, but it always suited her personality and her state of mind. For example, that white pink red dress she wore in the scene when she fought with her brother and he fell off the cliff. That was gorgeous and freaky and a great foreshadow of Nolan's suspicion her being an actual killer. Later when they are separated and she stands in competition with Margot and Victoria, we see not only that she dresses up and shows a more sophisticated look. They also make her imitate Victoria's look. I think she even wears at least one of Victoria's old outfits. And of course to underline her grief when Victoria seems to be gone. Louise mirrors some of Emily's qualities throughout her Revengender. In season 3 she was also channeling Victoria with her outfits. Just like Emily, but for very different reasons, Louise is obsessed with Victoria and stalks her son Daniel. I like the hilarious and fun approach by playing with this. Both Daniel and Victoria being suspicious and refereeing to Emily and her past with Daniel. The only thing I disliked was her fighting with Margot and the crazy stuff with her hallucinations.
You're just gonna walk away and let her win? I did not raise a quitter.
How's that? Are you happy, Mother? Are you?
I think they never made it quite clear that Louise was just in this state of mind because of these pills. And that she is fine when she does not take them. Maybe because they want to show us her doubts, or maybe because all the treatments and drug abuse took a toll on her.
I will not ruin Nolan's life. This is where I deserve to be.
Claremont Psychiatric. There are very few people who deserve to be here, and you don't even come close.
I like the drama around their wedding reception. Though I wished we had seen a lavish wedding or at least a very eccentric party. Still, it is a shame that Elena Satine got to wear this beautiful Cinderella-like gown and yet we see not much of it. I get there was just a lot going on. First, the abduction of Emily and Victoria. Finally getting rid of Malcolm Black. And all that drama around Louise's family secret. So they had not that much time for the actual party. I love how Nolan stands up for her and really is on her side. His wedding present with the real police report was just perfect and shows how good he already knows his bride and her real needs. I love that Emily is so empathic in this episode and helps not only Nolan but Louise as well. And not only because she is a friend of Nolan, but because she is in need and Emily already sees her as a friend and ally, too. The last half of season 4 was not that good for Louise. I hated that Nolan actually cheated on her and always complained to Jack how this marriage ruins his chances in getting a new partner. I mean, he must have noticed how Louise was falling for him and he is not that much uninterested either. So why does he not even try to make this work for real? With Padma he had one girlfriend and from what he is stating about his sexuality he seems not to be straight gay. So he likes men and women. And so far all the men he loved had let him down, including his former employee and boyfriend Marka. So why not try a woman whose most obvious character trait is loyalty? Anyway, if he would have been more honest and talked about his feelings with Louise instead of going to Jack, this would have not been gone down like this. Cause when Victoria tries to manipulate Louise and make her hate Nolan, she has doubts and wants not to believe it.
You're trusting the wrong people. Nolan hasn't told you everything.
Nolan and I have no secrets.
The people to whom you've pledged your loyalty have two faces.
So if he and Emily could have had the chance to go to Louise first and tell her their side of the story, Victoria would have had no chance to bring Louise to her side. By the way, she is only using her to get the flash drive with all this intel on Emily. She gave a damn about Louise when they came out of Claremont, and sure as hell she still does not give a damn about Louise's mental health and personal happiness. But since we have seen her manipulate her children and her lovers for more than 3 years, I was more deceived of Margot. She is using this innocent, unsteady and very needy person Louise is just for her own selfish mission.
I think Victoria lied to us.
No, Emily did attack her.
If she lied about that, she could have lied about a lot of things.
Nolan Ross was in Victoria's penthouse?
He was looking for proof that Victoria had framed Emily.
Nolan is a liar and a manipulator. You know that better than anyone. How many times are you going to let him do this to you?
You saying he planted that hoodie?
Of course he did. That's what he does. He wanted you to find it. Margot, I don't feel so good. No, Sherry, you're exhausted, and who can blame you? It's been a terrible week for all of us.
So the episodes after Louise and Nolan were divorced are hard to watch for a fan of Louise like me. Nolan obviously still cares for her but does not know how to reach her. I love that scene when Louise surprises him in Victoria's apartment and they argue about Victoria. That was a great scene for both Elena Satine and Gabriel Mann.
The hell are you doing here?
Better question, what the hell are you doing here?
Oh, I have every right and full permission to be here. Victoria Grayson was my own personal guardian angel.
Louise, speak. Well, let's put that through Google Translate and...
Stop that. You will not disrespect her memory while standing in her home.
Well, I can't stand in Emily's home because your guardian angel blew it up!
Get out!
You saw who you wanted her to be. Louise, you are one of the most loyal people that I know, and that is the quality that I truly adore in you. But in this case, it was and is misplaced.
You're wrong.
And I know you think the sun rose and set with her, but maybe that's what you counted on to pull this off. Your blind faith.
Victoria Grayson was the only person in this world who looked out for me.
You know, that's not true.
But my most favorite scene they cut out, the reconciliation scene at Amanda's and Jack's wedding.
Well, I am so glad that you decided to come.
Well, if I'm gonna be a full-fledged Hamptonite, can't miss the first party of the season.
Lulu caught the Hamptons bug.
Then I'm putting down roots right up the beach from my Wonder Twin.
You know, I thought that the estate grown out of the ashes of Grayson Manor had a distinctly southern twang. There goes a neighborhood.
Amen.
So what do you think about Louise? Did you hate her over the top character, or was she a great addition to the dream team Emily and Nolan?